Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave Podcast. The boys are back to talk about The Boys. It's been a little while. We haven't discussed this show yet on the network, but we're very excited to do it. This is the season 4 drop of the Amazon Prime Video superhero comic book series called The Boys. If you guys haven't watched any of the previous seasons and you're just in here to support, please give this video a like if you can. Subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed to us yet, but if you guys haven't watched anything that came before it, you probably don't want to tune into this discussion because we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes that dropped for season 4 of The Boys. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Mikey Peniston.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
As well as Vinny Albano.
Hello.
And so we're recording this on the following Monday. The first 3 episodes dropped the previous Thursday. So apologies if we're a little late, but we figured we wanted to get all 3 of us in here for the premiere and discuss some of the things that we have had. So this show, I didn't know this until I started to see the big media storm that was coming with it. I knew it was one of the bigger shows on Amazon, but statistically speaking, this is Amazon's biggest show. So this is like the premier streaming series beyond the $500 million Lord of the Rings show, beyond the Reacher show. This is the number 1 show on Amazon. So this is a big coup for them being able to now get up to 4 seasons of this show. And they actually did report that Eric Kripke, the creator of the series, announced that season 5 would be the final season of the show. So we're now discussing the penultimate season of what is to come with the culmination of The Boys. So really quick, Mikey, what was your interpretation of the first 3 episodes, and where are you in terms of like your fandom for the show in general?
So I'll start with the second question. In terms of my fandom to this show, I think that The Boys genuinely is one of the best things on television. I still stand by that. Jumping into these first 3 episodes, I could definitely admit that I was 50-50 kind of coming out of these episodes. I really appreciated certain things that they did and certain directions that they're going. I don't know if I'm okay to start off the bat saying certain spoilers or
Yeah, we can hear. I'll just give a spoiler warning again. We are going to talk spoilers for this review. We're talking about the first 3 episodes of season 4. So, I mean, the episodes have been out for already 5 days by the time of this recording. So if you guys haven't checked them out and you want to return, come back for next week. You guys have been warned. We're talking spoilers.
Yes. I really like how they immediately brought Homelander into this. We all know that the past 3 seasons now have just been like a constant buildup of like his inner crazy coming out to the point now where he's like, I'll kill somebody on the spot. We literally saw that at the end of season 3. So kind of going right into coming from that last episode and going right into that, I appreciated the direction that they're going with Homelander. But I think that there's some tightening up that needs to be done in that area. I won't get too much into that just because it is so early on. But I do also think that in terms of just the boys, the team of them, like there was once a point in time where it was like you knew the boys were out to to take down Vought essentially, you know, and like not only that, like they wouldn't let any soup get in their way, sort of thing, and that's still sort of the case. But it seems like, and I don't know, maybe because we're 4 seasons in now, and so it's like they've expanded, they're doing much bigger things, and like a lot's going on. But I don't know, it seems like I miss the direct interaction that they had when it was like them versus Vought, them versus like I do like how Homelander is very much like face to face with a lot of them. But I don't know, it just seems like it seems like they're more separate than it's been in the past. So I don't know, I feel like it's early. I'm not going to start critiquing that much. I'll leave it at that. Okay. But I don't know, 50-50 for me.
All right, Vinny?
Yeah, so jumping right into it. As of right now, where I stand with season 4 is like similar to how you feel, Mikey. Like I'm very, I almost don't know how to feel because honestly, I was expecting more. Like season 3 was my favorite season thus far, and season 3 started off with a bang, it ended with a bang, and it was just crazy all throughout. This almost had a slower start. And these first 3 episodes, I began to feel almost as if like not much was happening at points where like it almost felt like they were just doing the boys to do like the boys, you know, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were it honestly, I'm gonna just dive right into my complaints.
Mhm.
It felt at moments where they didn't know where to take the story so far. So we have this very slow start where characters are kind of dilly-dallying and the plot is kind of dilly-dallying, and it almost feels like it's becoming a parody of itself, which I always loved The Boys for how it is a satire, it is a parody, and it's on the nose, you know what I mean? It's not like a subtle satire. No, they go all out. It's in your face, and I've always loved The Boys for that. But it almost feels like it's becoming The Boys as a parody is now becoming a parody of that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like there was weird lines like the Pete Davidson line, and there was a couple handful of lines of dialogue that just took me out of it completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just very curious what direction they're going with this season, because I still love The Boys for its social commentary, and I love how just like abrasive in your face it is on a sociological standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of film and story, as of right now, it's like I don't know. I'm like 50-50, like you said, Mikey.
Yeah, I think it's getting, like, to add to both of your points, and I agree with both of you guys. I think it's more scattered than we're accustomed to, especially going into like a fourth season of a series and knowing that The Boys likes to beat over the head with a lot of gore and sexual allegory and all that kind of stuff, but it's done in a way that comes off as like a bang and you're like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening, in the best kind of way. And now I think they're leaning so much into what was the weaker parts of the show as a whole, which is like trying to focus completely on like the governmental control aspects of it. Because even though we're getting these scattered stories, and I know part of it, Vinny, you haven't watched Gen V yet, right?
No,
You
I'm
haven't?
not.
Okay, I'm not gonna dive into it,
Yeah.
but it even like the story with Victoria Newman plays very much into Gen V,
Yeah.
and they're trying to have this interconnected universe, which makes sense. I mean, they have it in the comics, like
Mhm.
it makes sense.
Mhm.
But so much I think is a setup for what they're trying to do with like the whole political sphere within this, and talk about the control aspect of what these heroes have, instead of like Mikey was talking about focusing on like the real battle between good and evil, or Soups and the people that are trying to stop the Soups, even though they would have Soups on their side, like Starlight, obviously, and now they're trying to recruit A-Train and things like that. But to me, I agree. It's especially writing wise, I think it's the weakest writing they've had, and that's very interesting 4 seasons in.
Mhm.
Like I can't think of a lot of successful television shows where that dip kind of happens. Like people could make the argument about Stranger Things, where people talk about like from season 2 to 3, they felt like when they implemented them all, that was like a weaker kind of season, but some people really like that season. But then season 4 takes it to a whole nother level, and it's arguably the best season they've ever done of the show. Now The Boys, for their penultimate season, like, and again, like you guys both said, we're very early on. Like we're only 3 episodes in. I believe they do, I think they do 8 episodes, right? Yeah, they do 8 episodes. So the other thing is, I think it's interesting that they released 3 to open us up, because as IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes was something I wanted to talk about, because I think it's interesting that I think this is the first season ever of the show that the audience has it as a like very low score comparatively to the past seasons.
Mhm.
So audience scores a 52, critics is a 95. And then on IMDb, the second episode has the lowest rating of any Boys episode in the history of the show. So that makes me think that in test screenings, they were like, people are not getting a good reaction to episode 2. We need to add something here in episode 3 to make it sort of have people end on a little bit of a higher note. And I did like the ending to episode 3. I liked when we started to get into the psychology of Homelander and the different devils on the shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And I do still think Anthony Starman is like, that character and him in that embodying that role is like to a level of like some of the greatest television performances I've ever seen. But like you had said about The Boys in particular too, the fracturedness of their group, and just they're trying to give us these subplots that I hate. I don't care. I don't care. They're not making me
Yeah.
care enough that I really care about what's happening with Frenchie or what's happening with Kimiko. Is a little bit more interesting, I feel like, because there's a lot of unknown there, and knowing that she comes from this society where she was basically trafficked and she's a soup and she has these powers as well. So that's always an interesting thing too. But in terms of the main core story, like I'm not really completely connecting with it the way I have in past seasons. So I would agree with what both of you guys are saying. I think at this point through 3 episodes, it's not that I'm not looking forward to what's coming next, but I was always really excited for the next episode and what was to come. And after these first 3, I'm like, I'm excited to keep watching along. I hope, crazy shit happens. It is The Boys. I'm sure crazier things will happen. But like Vinny said too, like the writing just takes you out of it sometimes. And they're so beating you over the head with the real world politics and connecting that with what the show is. And I'm just like, we don't need this all the time, I do think, Vinny, I wanted you to bring up that point you talked about off screen in terms of like the media literacy though, because I do think it's interesting that that's what the show is. That's what the show has always been. I think it is taking it in one direction, which is making people a little upset about it, but I don't think that's necessarily completely kind of conducive to what the problems with the show are. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So like my issues with the show really stand at a writing standpoint as of right now, because although like I don't think these past 3 episodes have been terrible, like I'm still super interested, especially everything they're doing with Ryan. I'm very interested what they're doing with Ryan. The scene between Butcher and Ryan, and how we find out that he was actually gonna like put that poison or whatever it was in the cookies, and then he ended up throwing the cookies out, like, and then also brings up a whole nother level of like, with Ryan's Homelander like abilities, like he could tell if Butcher was lying. So like, did he recognize that Butcher was lying when he said, "Oh, I put too much sugar in the cookies"? So really there is a lot of interesting things going on here. And I love also seeing the Homelander stuff, like you mentioned. Episode 3 was my favorite out of these 3 episodes because of that. But hopping off of that question that you just proposed, so I see a lot of people online. I'm gonna talk my shit, right? Because I see
absolutely,
a lot of,
as you should.
Yes.
I see a lot of people online. They are review bombing this because it doesn't like support their political stance in real life, and because they're upset about Frenchie subplot, even though like, all right, what, like, dude, first of all, Frenchie, we've been known he is bi. On top of that, like the Boys has made it apparent since season 1 that they are satirizing real world politics in a way that it's very like they're not holding punches. So I find it very funny that there's a lot of people online that lack a certain level of media literacy, where they just completely, I guess, ignored that satire for the past 3 seasons, and now that it's like really apparent in season 4, that now they're like, "Oh, I hate the show now." Like, and it's like, bro, like we saw an octopus suck off the deep, but you guys are mad because a character that we've known is bisexual be bisexual in a scene. You know what I mean? Like, what? That's not my issue with the show. My issue is just kind of more of like I mentioned, a writing standpoint of like, I just kind of don't know where they're going with these subplots. Frenchie subplot, just I think it has a lot of potential, but I'm just curious where they're going with that. Like what happened to I forget his name, Frenchie's partner.
I think it's Connor.
Colin, maybe?
Or Colin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm curious where they're going with that. But yeah, no, that was just to answer your question. There's a lot of people review bombing this for the sake of like they're offended all of a sudden, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually the first I'm hearing about that. Thank you for bringing that up because I had no idea that people were even doing that, and that is so like everything you said is spot on. Actually,
Yeah.
like The Boys is literally made up to showcase all of this and everything you could think of being like I don't know, just being displayed or in that light, or
Yeah.
even just like you said, all of it is a parody in one way or another, but it's still tackling real world things that are going on in this
Heightened
weird,
world.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so like to hear like that, and you hit it right on the nail with the whole deep, like that example versus wow, oh my gosh, you could.
Well, yeah, the parallels,
Yeah.
because like you bring up a good point too, Vinny. Like if people are going to complain about a subplot that has to do with someone's sexuality, like within that same context and within the same season that we also have the deep continuing a relationship with an octopus voiced by Tilda Swinton, which is wonderful and I love it. Plus, I mean, like you get moments like, which I was cracking up about this shit, but like talk about heightened like moments, like they have A-Train filming a movie about his life in which he's a crack dealing like black kid from the streets, and Will Ferrell comes in as himself playing his football coach trying to recruit him. It's like it's so crazy and off the wall that like I agree, Vinny. Like that's not my problem with it either. I think with the problem is they're trying to balance so many. This is what worries me about them even announcing that it's the penultimate in season 2. Like they're trying to balance, rightfully so, because it is a major ensemble show. Despite the fact that Anthony Starr, I think everyone is really good in the show, but I do think that there's an added layer. Like I do think that he is like the show is on his shoulders, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's hard because they're trying to finish Butcher's story and still try to do the thing with Ryan, which I agree is probably the most interesting to me. Huey, surprisingly, was the focus of the series when we opened up and is the focus of the comics. And it feels like he has the least to do this season so far. Like we're not really getting much of anything from him. There's not a lot with him and Starlight's relationship. Mother's Milk stuff kind of gets pushed aside, and it's because you're trying to balance something. Plus, we're getting new members of the Seven, and you have Jeffrey Dean Morgan being introduced. Like, it does feel a little bloated. Like, within that first 3 episodes, they're trying to do so much all at one time. And I felt like what they did really well in season 3, and I'm not trying to speak words into your mouth, but like a big part of the reason it was also my favorite season was because so much of that focus was on like the antithesis of what Homelander was, which was Soldier Boy. And so it was Soldier Boy, and it was Homelander, and it was the boys. And they focused on that, and it was so great. Yet we did get like those flashback sequences, which is like probably my favorite episode of the whole show. When they go back to, what is it, the Vietnam? Is that where they're at?
Black Noir.
Black Noir.
Yeah.
Incredible, like one of the greatest episodes ever. But with this season so far, and I agree with you, I don't think it's necessarily bad television. I think it's better than most things that are on TV still. But it doesn't have that same impact that I felt like the first 3 seasons had coming out of the gate. I think that they're lacking a little bit. And I do agree, like, people shouldn't be review bombing for stupid shit, but unfortunately that's the age we live in.
Yeah.
But I think they're just trying to do too much too quickly. And there's so many different levels and plots they're trying to balance all at one time. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that with an ensemble show with heightened politics, living in a superhero world, dealing with fatherhood, dealing with people dying left and right. Like, it's hard. And I think that they did a good job of when they got too heady, they were able to counteract that with really great balls to the wall moments, whether it was through comedy, through sex, or through violence. And the first 3 episodes here, they still have like those moments where they're like, don't forget, we're the boys. This is what we're doing. But some of it, it's just like, all right, now I feel like you're trying to do this to keep up with the shtick rather than try to have it serve the story. You know? I don't know if you had anything.
I do actually. I feel that same exact way. I agree with everything that's being said. I feel like it was a lot for 3 episodes. But I also think that, and again, I know we've already said that it is early to be talking about a lot of this. I have a feeling that they will I have a feeling that everything they're doing right now is super intentional. I don't know why. Just like how you guys said, like it's really strange for a show like The Boys, like 4 seasons in now, to be making a mistake like this.
Hmm.
I think that coming off of now an even more heightened world now that we've gotten Gen V and now that we've gotten like a lot of other sort of minor kind of spin-offs, I guess you could say, they've really built out this world. And I think that knowing that they'll all probably will come full circle at some point, probably this season, I have a feeling that they're going to somehow tie it back together in some way or another. And certain things that we're seeing right now probably, all right, I don't know how to say this without, maybe it's just, this is me theory speaking right now, but I genuinely feel like they're throwing a lot of storylines right now at us that either one, aren't real, or two, will somehow affect the series to come at a more major role. And I just feel like everything we see right now is very, 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 very intentional, down to like Butcher seeing Jeffrey Dean and stuff like that. And like, all right, I'm really theory basing.
I'm like not even
I'm really
connecting with you right now.
theory-basing.
So you got to hit me with it.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like 3 specific moments that I can 100% bring up that have me thinking, okay, maybe what we're seeing right now will affect later on in the season or what's to come. Also knowing that I'm coming off of a Gen V watch. The ending of episode 3, let me start here. When we see Homelander, a little bit of that psyche like you brought up, and you see that he needs to kind of go back to his original roots, essentially. Coming off of Gen V, and I don't know if this is a spoiler to Gen V, and I don't want to spoil you in any way.
I gotta binge watch.
I was gonna say, I
Okay.
think you need to go home and
You
watch
will,
it
you
tonight.
will,
you
I was
will,
like,
yes.
because it does connect.
It does, yeah. Like my mind immediately when you saw there was like a specific zoom in on a door, my mind immediately
I
went
thought the
to
same thing.
another door
I
that
thought
we've
the same
seen
thing.
in the past. Not only that, I really don't want to spoil this because this is actually a major spoiler for Gen V. But there is a scene in the very last episode that could tie the last episode of 3 to everything you see in Gen V with Homelander. In a way, I'll leave it like that because it's. I don't want to spoil. You gotta
No,
binge
that's a
watch
fair
that show.
point.
Yeah, I binge watched that show. Not only
Okay.
that, other things that I've seen, like obviously Butcher is at like a really like homie probably could die at the end of the season.
Mhm.
Like we all know that at this point, but the effects of what is the actual drug that they're taking again? Compound V, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that. We know it makes people crazy. Like we know that it has that effect. We've seen like the effects of Homeland with a few other people. This isn't a spoiler, but they do touch a little bit on that in Gen V as well. How do we know that a lot of what we're seeing right now that could seem like kind of stupid storylines aren't just attached to that? Like Butcher seeing this random character out of nowhere, Jeffrey Dean, like it makes you crazy. How do we know he's even really there? You know what I'm saying? Like sort of things that could just be.
Yeah, and every interaction they've had together has been just the two of them.
Not only
so-
that, Huey's mom just shows up randomly. Huey also took Compound V. How do we know that Huey's not also seeing things randomly and stuff?
It's a good
You
theory.
know what I'm saying? So I feel like certain things could be super intentional right
Yeah.
now. It's just so early on. And so like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how I'm starting to grasp a lot of this, but it's also a lot. So it's like that's me really theory basing. It could be none of that. It could be like, no, they're just like really messing this up this season
Yeah.
up. But like
No, that's a good point.
you know, it's like that's what my mind kind of just
Yeah.
went to.
And that's so valid because we've seen in the season Butcher is just talking to people
Yeah.
like that aren't there.
Yeah.
And like I know what's her name, Amanda Singer, right? When she is
Yeah,
that-
yeah, that's her name.
or Newman or I forget the,
You talking about the one resident for president?
yeah,
Victoria Newman.
Victoria.
okay.
I don't know where I got Amanda.
I think that's
Singer.
her. Is that her real name?
Maybe it's the
It
actress's
might be her real
name.
It
name.
might be.
Mhm.
But when Victoria Newman walks in at one point, she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And like Butcher's, he's going crazy. So
Yeah.
that's super valid, especially since like, you know, Darian, like you mentioned, Jeffrey D. Morgan's character and Butcher have only interacted like isolated.
Yes.
It hasn't
In
been,
one
like-
room, nobody else around them.
Yeah.
So 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise with Huey too, though. His mom only comes
Hmm.
when. I mean, I don't know if she's supposed to.
Yeah, because I don't even think
adopt him.
Starlight has been in the room with Huey
Hmm.
when he's seen his mother.
I don't know. All I'm saying is,
Has there been reference to his mother? Like, was there a nurse saying your mother? No, like she just shows up, right?
Yeah, she just shows up.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, have they brought her up? Like in the past, like previous seasons, have they referenced her as like maybe being dead or? Just
Yeah,
like,
they. I'm pretty sure. Like that was what my brother said when we were watching it together. He was like, "Isn't she dead? Like, where's she coming from?"
I don't know, man.
It's
like,
a good theory.
You really got to watch Gen V though,
Hmm.
because not only that, certain characters that they introduce in Gen V, I feel
Are
like,
important.
And you,
There's actually a cameo.
is there?
Like it's like on a sign, but I don't know if you noticed
I
it.
didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's one of the characters' fathers
Gotcha.
who's prominent in Gen V.
Gotcha.
They show him in his superhero form on like,
Okay, I know
in
what you're talking
passing.
about.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
see
yeah.
it, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay.
but
Yeah, no, it certain characters that are introduced in that show that you know for a fact will in some way play out into the boys. Some of those theories I feel like can be explained a little better through that. So definitely watch Gen
Okay.
V, and that's to every viewer. If you're watching this show, watch Gen V. Watch Gen V. It'll give you a little bit of insight.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good theory.
Yeah.
That'll make me like the show a lot more. That'll make me like this season a lot more if that's the case.
Just 'cause of
Um, Were there any other moments in particular in the first 3 episodes that stood out to you as like either something like brutally really cool in terms of violence or something that you thought was really funny? Like Will Ferrell was one of the big ones for me. I also loved how in episode 2 when they finally come out of the fight scene and they're they had basically it was like a QAnon rally, and then after the QAnon rally, when they finally are like actually having a fight, it's the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel bar mitzvah, which I thought was like the
Yeah.
funniest way for them to go meta with Amazon too. It's like the second biggest Amazon
That's
show. It was
right.
like so funny to me.
Hmm.
So those were 2 things that stood out to me. I don't know. Was there anything for you, Vinny? That
Yeah, I personally really enjoyed the new Black Noir.
oh, dude, yeah, the new Black Noir is so great. So good.
when when he falls asleep at the table. Just like every line, I don't know who's behind the mask. You know, I had a friend say that he's speculating that it might be like someone from Gen V. I've really got to watch Gen V. I apologize. I read that online, like you didn't need to watch Gen V, but I guess
You don't. You really
Yeah.
don't.
You don't necessarily have to. No.
okay.
Mm.
Because I don't know. I feel like with everything they're doing right now, like I might have to.
You know what's funny?
But-
Based on the IMDb, and it's IMDb,
Hmm.
but the person that's credited as being Black Noir 2 is the guy that played Black Noir 1. So
Hmm.
that's so awesome and funny if they finally
Yeah.
were like, no, dude, like now actually like act like a silly version of yourself.
Yeah.
He's like, I just need direction. I just need somebody to give me direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Noir has been so Black Noir has been great to see. I mean, to me too, I know I give so much props to Homelander. To me, it's like Homelander like 1A, and then I think like a very close, like I guess like 1C. I still think Homelander's so unbelievable, but Chase Crawford is the deep man. It's so just remarkably everything he does is so unbelievably stupid
Yeah.
and yet so funny. And like his oh my god, there's a lot with him. I mean, even like the way he finally has the interaction with Ashley, like at the table. It's like I don't know, like his character to me has been like one of my absolute favorites to watch throughout the 4 seasons. Like he's still on another level. But I don't know. What about you, Mikey?
Yeah, no, there were a few things that I really enjoyed. As far as specific to even like the new character, what's her name? Sister
Sage.
Yeah.
Sage.
Yeah.
I think it's really strange that they decided to bring her in now.
Hmm.
I do like her. I like her character. I think it's cool to have like a super smart person there. That can kind of, just because you never really know if she's so smart, like what her sort of prerogative
Yeah.
could be, sort of
Yeah.
thing. And like she's Homeland's like right hand sort of thing, but like who knows how that will go. So I think her character is really interesting. Even if she is just kind of like a tool used to tear the last of the 7 apart, then like that could be kind of cool to see how that goes. But again, I do think everything is intentional, so there's definitely a reason why they brought her in this right now.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that the scenes that we got of Black Noir were hilarious, and the Deep were also hilarious. And there was, I also thought it was. I'll just bring this. I thought it was really funny the storyline that with Mother's Milk's, like, what was his name?
The
guy, Todd. Yeah, Todd. And like they kept making like the joke about like how he must be like slanging like if he's doing. And then just how Todd's story was just kind of quick, but it
that was a crazy demise for his
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. You were gonna say something. I don't know if you were gonna.
No, I just wanted to say that Sister Sage, I really enjoy what they're doing right now because I like this idea of like she definitely has some ulterior motives, and I just hope they don't do a multiverse of madness thing where it's like, this is Reed Richards, the smartest man in the world, and then like dies immediately, like dies in a stupid way that he could have used his intelligence to counteract, you know. But if they do this properly, because every time she was on screen, I'm thinking, if she's really the smartest, then she knows everything. She knows all the countermeasures. She probably already knows everything the boys are doing. You know what I mean? So like, I'm super curious what they're gonna do with her character. I just hope it doesn't become like a joke in the end, where it's like, I use the Reed Richards example as like, you know, WandaVision, or I mean, Scarlet Witch coming in and like turning into spaghetti, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. No, I think Sister Sage has been a really good and welcome addition, I think, this season for sure. Definitely excited that there's a character that is not only challenging Homelander, but is the one that like he has to agree with. Like it's the first person he's interacted with in a long time where he's like, everything she's saying makes sense, and she's thinking exactly what I'm thinking, and I need to just listen to this person because they understand me better than I know myself. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted to touch on. We touched on a good amount of everything. Like, there's not much in terms of story that we can really go off of. Like we talked about, like the big things. Again, so much of this is based in the handling of Ryan and what's going to happen between Butcher and Homelander. And obviously they both have strong feelings for him. And the only big Ryan thing we get is that he kills the choreographer, which I saw that coming a mile away. It was still great. It was really funny. But I feel like, again, there's a lot of story stuff we have to kind of let the weeks play out and kind of see what happens with that. But I don't know. There's nothing else for me. Was there anything else for you?
No.
Pretty much it, Vinny?
Yeah, just one thing, because it just popped in my mind. The ice skating scene. Where it's like,
so good. So good.
Bought on ice.
So good. So awesome.
It was so the boys.
That was probably my favorite of like the boys moment so far through the first 3 episodes. It's really well done. It's unbelievably funny. It keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. So they do a great job with that scene.
I love how random and fast it all is. how like Jesus like chops off the woman's like fingers and then it's trying to like
hop over the guardrail, slits a dude's throat. So ridiculous.
It's so crazy. It's so bad.
It's so random.
It's so good. It's so good. But that's when the boys is at its best, right? Like that's the type of shit where you can play it the right way with editing, with writing, with hilarity, but also the serious and the tenseness of the situation where Huey's like about to get blown to smithereens within seconds. It's so great.
Or like and I mean, you kind of touched on it with the fight scene of it, but like before when walking in on the sauna.
Oh my god, dude. So insane.
Right? And then he gave him so pink eye and they have to fight.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They were good moments.
What a unique show. What a unique show The Boys is. Oh man. Well, That's going to do it for us. That's a good ending off point. Guys, that was our review and discussion of the first 3 episodes of season 4 of The Boys. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the first 3 episodes of season 4 of The Boys. Obviously, this is a show with a massive following. This is our first time covering it on the Culture Wave Media Network, so please stick with us. If you're a fan of the show, keep watching. We're all 3 of us are fans of the show. I think Zach might hop on some episodes as well to discuss the show if he's watching. So we'll be here covering it throughout the next, I guess we got 5 weeks to cover this after this. So we'll be back with more episodes talking about this show. Be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Cinema Wave Media and at _Culture Wave Media on Instagram, as well as at Cinema Wave Media on TikTok and Threads, and just Culture Wave on Facebook. We have so much other stuff coming for you guys. We're covering House of the Dragon. We're covering The Acolyte. We got The Bear coming. Tons of films that are out. Inside Out 2 just dropped. So I'm going to do a solo review of that. Plus, we just started doing, finishing our coverage for the Tribeca Film Festival. We have interviews up on the channel. We have reviews on the channel. We have more stuff coming for you guys as well on there. So please be sure to like this video if you can. Comment your thoughts on The Boys. Let us know what you guys liked about our discussion, as well as if you guys could subscribe to us. That would be a big help as we continue to grow things out. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Mikey Peniston.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.